Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirahe Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Today we are reading from the first canto, chapter 5, Narada's instructions to instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me share the screen so that we can. Okay. Yeah, I presume all of us can see this, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So, can someone be my chorus? Tasyaiva hetoḥ prayateta kovido.
Tasyaiva hetoḥ prayateta kovido.
Na labhyate yad bhramatām upary adhaḥ.
Upari adhaḥ.
Labhyate duḥkhavad anyataḥ sukham.
labhyate duḥkhavad anyataḥ sukham.
Kālena sarvatra gabhīra-raṁhasā.
kālena sarvatra gabhīra-raṁhasā.
Thank you, Mataji. Translation. The word to word meaning translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Tasya, for that purpose, eva, only hetoḥ, reason, prayateta, should endeavor, kovido, one who is philosophically inclined, na labhyate, is not obtained, yet what, bhramatām, wandering, upari adhaḥ, from top to bottom, tat labhyate, can be opened, duḥkhavad, like the miseries, anyataḥ, as the results of previous work, sukham, sense enjoyment, kālena, in course of time, sarvatra, everywhere, gabhīra, subtle, raṁhasā, progress. Translation. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtained by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Pātāla. As far as happiness derived from enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just as in course of time, we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Purport, it's just about a page. I'll just quickly read it. Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy, engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, and some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somarasa, and that Pitraloka is obtained by good charitable work. So, there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon and other planets by some mechanical arrangement, for they are very anxious to get in touch with such planet without doing good work. But it will not happen by the law of the supreme. Different planets, places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work, only as prescribed in the scriptures can one obtain birth in good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We have seen that even in this life, one obtains good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we can get desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently placed according to their previous work. But such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Pātāla are also changeable according to our own work. The philosophically inclined person may not be tempted by such positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where we will not be forced to come back again to this miserable world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are not obtained in they are obtained in Brahmaloka and in other lokas also. They're obtained in the life of demigods and also in the life of hogs and dogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are not only different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, every person is destined in happiness. No one can get more or less these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should therefore one should not therefore waste time on these flimsy things. One should endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. See, I'll seek the prayers and start the discussion on this. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjala Shalakaya Chakshunmikamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Chaitanya Swami Namini Namo Acharya Padaya Padaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Grandam Tari Hare Krishna. So this verse I would call it a very hope-giving verse. Let me try and share in the PPT. I tried to make a few inspired by our leader and Varaha Prabhu. I'm not so good, but let me still. Is this seen, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, we can see.
Yes.
Okay. So I would call these verses are so much hope-giving verses, right? These verses right from 17, 18, 19. They kind of explain Narada Muni's, it reveals Narada Muni's assurance that even if sometimes a devotee leaves Kesi, it's still better, right? Meaning that you may be failing in this university of bhakti, but it is better not to take admission at this university, at least, So even if you fail, no problem, get enrolled, take the admission in this university, right? So let's approach this this verse very reverentially. I would request everyone, here about 51 people, let's get into the meditative mood and just go through these verses and see how magnanimous Krishna is, how kind Krishna is, right? Even if we are, a failure, let the whole world say it's a failure, but Krishna, Narada Muni is saying, no, this is all auspicious. Let's just find out. So we know that we are in the 5th chapter. Narada has given instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva, right? Particularly, there are subsections. Thanks to all the senior Vaishnavas have divided so that we can understand this better. Where are we specifically? From 8 to 22, Narada is revealing to Vyasadeva importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. You've been hearing all that. In that, we are now in the 18th verse, which is 17 to 19. What is the topic? Progress in bhakti is credited forever. No loss even in fall down. Yesterday we had Varaha Kripa Prabhu. That's nicely explaining, right? And we continue in the same place, right? So what we saw yesterday is that material energy is very strong. Even if we fall down, what we said, bhakti account will not diminish. Varaha Kripa Maharaj actually referred to chapter 2, 40th verse. I was also I was taking some points from even the 6th chapter, right, in where the Lord says in the 40th verse, Partha naive namrita vinasasya tasya vidyate nahi krit kalyana krit kaschin durgatim tati gacchati. What does it say in the 6th? That verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction, neither in this world and nor in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is overcome by evil. And from the purport and from senior Vaishnavas, we can make out when his Lord mentioned destruction, he actually meant the destruction of the bhakti. So he keeps it intact. So it is a wonderful setting the context to start with, that it is never going to diminish. Whatever we do, good work is never going to diminish. So we need to have a purpose. What is the purpose we should pursue, right? Everyone has got a purpose. Here the Lord is saying hetoḥ, tasyaiva hetoḥ. What is the purpose? What is the purpose we should pursue? Narada Muni is saying that the purpose which is most glorious, na labhyate, which means it is not obtained by going to any other planet, right? Whether it is upper planet or lower planet. We just read in the translation by Srila Prabhupada. So we generally keep looking for happiness. Actually, many times we get confused from happiness and pleasure, right? We don't ask for we don't ask for happiness. Just look at the other two lines and then I will tell you. It says na labhyate duḥkhavad anyataḥ sukham. So sometimes when we keep looking for happiness, sometimes even distress come, we don't pray for it, right? Do we sit down and say, okay, let's get let's get corona, or let me lose the job, or we don't pray, but still we get that, right? The same way happiness also, we don't have to pray, we don't have to do anything, it automatically comes, right? So if you really find out that the happiness is the pleasure what we get, it's all in the mind. We keep getting confused between that. That is why he says today we might be happy, tomorrow it might get settled. That problem could be solved. Look for something higher, look for something better than happiness, which is related to happiness or distress related to this body. That is why I really like when the Lord explains in Ishopanishad, one of the verses is, if you come to know who's the controller and who's the owner of it, it says, right, Ishavashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatam jagat tena takyena punjitaha mahagratat kashyasved dhanam. That is, everything animate and inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. Just look at these two words. When we understand this, one should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as a quota, and one should not accept things which are knowing well whom they belong to. But what are we doing? Lord Prabhupada is saying we are now having, as if we are not satisfied in this world, we are also having some programs where trying to reach to the moon, trying to reach to the other planets. Okay, he's not yet satisfied with this place. We are all busy planning other places. But what does it say? Prabhupada says this will not happen. Why? Because even then, even actually if you're looking for happiness, there is a direction given. How does it? Only by good work as prescribed in scriptures. Okay, even there is a clear mention for us that if you do your good work as prescribed in scriptures, you will obtain good family, good birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and bodily features, right? But despite that, we are not following. Even if you want to get those happinesses, there is a direction given. But what to do? We always look for happiness thinking. We look for pleasure and get confused with happiness. What happened is, once Srila Prabhupada was challenged by a karmi. He said, I agree with whatever you're saying, Prabhupada, but what if you realize at the end of the life that Krishna is not there, Krishna doesn't exist? Isn't it a waste? He asked. So Srila Prabhupada looked at him with a smile and said, well, even then we had a wonderful time, chanting, dancing, eating prasadam, associating with wonderful devotees. But then after a few minutes, he said, my dear young man, what if you at the end of your life realize that Krishna does exist? What will happen to you? Right? So that is why Krishna consciousness is such a wonderful process, right? It is a wonderful process. That is why we sometimes, if you really imagine this side is a big Bhavasagara, your river, and we are all devotees, and that side there are non-devotees. What every person being a devotee likes to go across and bring that person to, cross over to this portion. That is why yesterday we saw, right? Yesterday or day before yesterday, we had this beautiful verse in which 16th, 1.5.16, Prabhupada write, to expert devotees can discover novel ways and means to convert non-devotees in terms of a particular time and circumstances. These are the novel ways, right? We heard few other options, and very nicely we all discussed about how devotees go and even preach, even celebrate New Year at 12 o'clock if necessary at their time, which is these are all the novel ways. That's why he says expert devotees find novel ways. We have Bhakti Vikas Maharaj saying preaching without preaching, right? These are necessary. We have, for example, Gaur Gopal Prabhu, who probably doesn't say Krishna or God in between, but we need to trust these preachers because they are all giving chocolates and other things, candies, to say, people come here, get onto the bridge. That is why his word is sometimes given as bridge preaching. Okay. So sometimes very strong preaching can make people run away. Okay. Narad Muni, that's why he's saying to Vyasadeva, present Srimad Bhagavatam in such a way that people will love it. Okay. It should not be threatening. I was talking of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada used to have a big jar of soaked sweet, which is jamuns. He in fact named it ISKCON bullets. Sometimes, he was obviously preaching to, in the initial days, to a couple of hippies and other people. So at some time, if they feel like leaving, and Prabhupada used to say, anytime if you're feeling, down, you can come and pop one into. There was no limitation. Just imagine. So those people, as they go out, they will take one jamun. Oh, this is so nice. I can stay for a few more days. That's the kind of way he had found ways to keep people. So that's why here almost it's like I heard a very nice lecture in which one of the senior Vaishnava is saying, present scriptures as Krishna love letter to people. Oh, what beautiful thought, right? Just if you are waiting for a love letter from your dear one, how will you be eager? That way, love will overcome all of fear, insecurity. Then life can be centered on Krishna. Okay. Sometimes even we get this daily updates from Guru Maharaj. Our Guru Maharaj had written nicely in the end. Okay. Chant, very nice. It was saying, carefully chant your rounds. So he did not use any PPTs, or he did not give a very stress on attentive chanting. That line was very beautiful. Just carefully chant. I actually stopped this and I read that line for a couple of minutes. That word really meant a lot. So we have to find novel ways to preach. We have to find novel ways to attract, to take the people from that and cross the bridge and bring them to this side. Very careful. We should not stay too much time in the bridge. Anyway, so the point was that people will look for happiness or pleasure, but somehow or the other we can bring them to the other side. So that's why it says expert devotees. What do? Expert devotees don't seek happiness. What do? They seek the rarest. That's what is the message here. Seek for the rarest. Don't go for the cheapest. Narada Muni is saying, he's encouraging Vyasadeva, saying, people get higher than, the happiness and distress at the level of the body. No, just make them a little higher. It's a myth. Actually, happiness, most of the advertisements which we see now, which is in the media or social or even the hoardings, everything suggests that if you consume this, if you buy this, you're going to be happy. Okay, most of the videos or anywhere, if you see, it's like a lie, right? It's an open lie, because it shows as though people take happiness as a natural, it's as if, it's natural to be happy. But material world is not like that. It's given to us that it is duḥkhalayam and it is ashashvatam. Okay, so please note, material happiness is not natural. We have to go through different emotions, right? Sometimes we are happy, as I said, sometimes we are anxious, sometimes you take seasons like rains, winters, the same way. It is very unreasonable. It's unreasonable to be expecting happiness all the time. Rise above this attachment. That's why they say live a life beyond this mind, right? Even if you take a mother and a child, it's not that you can say confidently that all the time she's very happy. Yeah, she goes through emotions. She's sometimes anxious, she's angry, she's some lovable moments, okay, some angry, some all those mixed emotions are there. So if somebody is going to say, oh, life will get married, Prabhuji, have a child, Prabhuji, life is going to be happy, life is going to be beautiful. No, don't get cheated. Because life is full of pure happiness is not possible. This generation is obsessed with that. Every time they talk about happiness, experience, and those kind of things. But Narada Muni is saying, hetoḥ prayateta kovido. That is, it is na labhyate. It's not available in this material realm. Something higher than the body and the mind. Okay, you have to get higher. The last point I wanted to say is that here Prabhupada writes that even if a person wants to go to Swargaloka, there are a lot of other places, right? Go or Swarga, Maha, Janar, Tapa, or go downwards. I'm sure no one wants to go down to the planets. But what it says is, all this is available to other lokas also. What is it? The features. What are the features? He says, Prabhupada says, misery and mixed happiness is always there. It is there in all the planets. Not only that, it's available to hogs and demigods and animals too. So definitely let's not look at this temporary stuff. He says transcend, right? Transcend to the life above this material situation. How? So I found this nice picture. It says the only way to transcend material nature is to do everything for Krishna. So beautiful. But if we have to see it in a very, if I have to give an example, Bangalore is known for pretty bad traffic. If somebody has to pass through a tin factory or even airport road, you see so much of traffic. But if you're in the car, you feel very frustrated. But then if you're, say, slightly having an aerial view, then you start appreciating, oh, beautiful lights are left, the traffic is moving smoothly. I mean, from top, you will find everything very beautiful, right? That's why, and you find it also very peaceful, right? But if you are inside that, it is horrible. So transcend to the, transcend above this identification of, material situation of happiness and distress, that you will be able to, you see it from the Krishna space or the Srimad Bhagavatam space, and then see this entire traffic jam will be peaceful. So our identification of the, with this bodies in the mind is so deep rooted that we are unable to appreciate a higher level of happiness, right? So that's why we must try to get the permanent life of bliss and knowledge. How is it? That is why Prabhupada says, don't waste your time on these flimsy things. Just endeavor to go back home, back to Godhead. So these were a couple of points which I kind of could get from this particular purport. So what did we say? We found out that it was a hope-giving verse. And then we said we all must have a purpose to pursue. We need to first of all find a purpose, and then find out that is the purpose aligned with the scriptures, right? Then we found out that when you realize that everything is controlled and owned by the Lord, we will not look at happiness here. And we also saw how Prabhupada used to attack this thing that we still are enjoying life. So when we know that bhakti is never at a loss, and preaching sometimes without preaching, that those are, of course, we will leave it to the experts. We will sit down and just preach. And then it says here, the entire purpose is seek the rarest, not the cheapest, right? Seek for something which is higher than the level of body and mind. And we found out no matter where you go, you still have this only two features, miseries and happiness is there. But If you do everything for Krishna, naturally you have transcended the material nature, and that way you will definitely find bliss and knowledge. Thank you very much for this time given to me, and I hope I've covered some of the points from this purport, Prabhuji. If there are any other points to be added or any other questions, I'm willing to accept, Prabhu.